Hello, and welcome back to another Tracker video, where today we are doing the next episode of the EVA career. In this video, I will be doing a test flight of this plane, testing the new experimental landing gear. I've got a contract to do it, and this contract should help me get the money required to buy the new R&D facility, where I will then be able to buy a winch to make a crane that should hopefully help with building the rockets. So here I am taxiing along the crawlerway where I wasn't looking where I was going and get this landing gear caught on the side. That proved to be difficult to get away from, but I managed it. As I continue taxiing, I have to slow down because of this large bump here. And I drop off the engineer because I don't need to fly him with him hanging on the side of the plane. And now it's time to taxi to the runway, where I disregard all the pavements because I'm lazy. I would like to just take a straighter route. Anyway, here we go for takeoff. Engine throttled up, speeding up. And here we are, just about to rotate. Now, you can see we are in the air, and I thought that extending the landing gear would complete the contract. So you can see I extended it, but it didn't complete the contract, so I had to click on it and click Run Test. That completed the contract. After doing that, I fly back to the runway. This plane is surprisingly aerodynamic, given that it's got a flat front, as I've got the engine idle right now, and I'm able to glide it into the runway. Kerbal aerodynamics are weird. I have tried Ferrum Aerospace before, but I never liked the fact that I then couldn't use all the planes I built before, because I like to use all my old designs. Anyway, we have landed, and we are now going back to the engineers, where the engineer will detach the experimental landing gear and recover it. So there we go, and you can see it fell through the ground, which is a first. I would have expected it to explode. Anyway, I recovered it, and now I will be doing another 2 contracts. These 2 contracts are to do science reports due to anomalies or something. It's not anomalies. Due to science reports due to, I can't remember what they said, something like discontinue, I don't know. I can't remember what the contract said, but due to something near Erald Kerman, which is one of the engineers. Given that I've got 2 contracts to do it, it means there must be something really wrong that I have to find out. Something really wrong with the atmospheric pressure. No, Yes. As you can see, this is definitely unscripted because I am coming out with the most random stuff, like, yes, it's a barometer report I was saying, but it's really just EVA reports. So yes, I'm doing EVA reports at the waypoints, not barometer reports. So anyway, you can see I'm going between all the waypoints that this contract has placed. Each contract comes with 4 waypoints. There we go, last waypoint for the first contract. But you see, I've now got the ability to take surface samples because I've now unlocked the next level of the R&D facility. But, as I found out in EVA Career Episode 9, I can't use the truck thing's cabin to store the science, otherwise it nulls the value and I don't get any science returns. It's just a bug with the mod, I probably need to update it. But anyway, because I can't do surface samples, I decide rather than go to the next waypoint of the next contract, I decide to go back to the KSC so that I can attach a plane cabin. It was a random plane cabin I had lying around at the Space Center because I had it as a spare. So I attached it to the back of the truck thing and got the Kerbal to sit in the plane cabin for the science experiments. So here I'm getting Irald Kerman, and there I'm getting Jebediah. And here I am going to the plane cabin that I was on about. Irald Kerman attaches the plane cabin and moves the parachute because I wasn't keen on the clipping. And there I'm moving Bob Kerman into the cabin and putting Jebediah in the driver's seat. After doing that, I now start my trip over to the next set of waypoints for the contract. So the first waypoint is just off the end of the runway before these hills. Here we go. And now Bob can do a surface sample as well and get me science. The next waypoint is just over this hill, which is a bit steep for the truck thing, so I have to sort of go sideways up the hill. But I make it over the hill and I make it to the waypoint where I do another surface sample and an EVA report. I then head towards the next waypoint, which is sort of over here, just before this hill over here. I can't believe earlier I thought I was doing barometer reports instead of EVA reports. And the last waypoint is just over the top of the hill. And the thing with this hill is it's very steep on the other side, and the waypoint is on the steepest part of the hill. So it proved to be difficult to stop, as you can see. And then I couldn't get Bob Kerman back on board because of the angle of it. So I tried turning it, which worked. And now it's time to go back down the hill and back towards the Space Center. Now I've done all the EVA reports at the various locations around the Space Center. But I realise with the surface samples I've done, it isn't anywhere close to the 160 science points I need to unlock the next R&D level. Not to unlock the next set of parts that I need, the winch specifically. So I then go crashing into the side of the R&D building, the new R&D building, which probably wasn't good for it. In the process, I managed to do surface samples at all of the facilities at the Space Center, while trying not to crash into any more buildings. There we go, to the mission control, and over to the tracking station. Before I get to the tracking station, I do the crawlerway and the launch pad. And then I do the tracking station, where you can do science at all the dishes and the ground around the dishes. You can also do the central hub as well, trying to maximize the amount of science I get from this, because I'm trying to unlock a winch that I can use to make a crane, because I'm hoping if I have a crane on the EVA Career series, that it should be easier to build rockets that are taller. Anyway, after recovering the plane cabin and getting the science, it is time to start work on the crane. So I start by taking apart the old launch ladder thing, the truss ladder, and I have a bunch of other trusses that I spawned in, which I will use to build the new truss ladder. And this new truss ladder will have the framework necessary to have a winch on top. Now, it isn't that structurally sound at first, it's quite flimsy, so I end up having to attach struts. Now, first I sort of try building it in the style of a launch tower, where it's got sort of four trusses going up the side in the four corners to make it look a bit more like a launch tower. But after building to the height I wanted to build to, I realised it was going to be quite heavy and the Kerbals wouldn't be able to lift it. So I decided to remove two of the truss pillars. That didn't matter anyway, because I would end up integrating this tower with the truck thing to make it easier to move around. So there I am doing something, and then I will lift up some more trusses so that I can attach sort of a platform at the top that the Kerbal can stand on. And this is where I realise that it's got really heavy and the Kerbals can't lift it. So I decide to remove these two other pillars and instead place some more trusses on the base to make its base wider and more stable. As I thought, if it's going to be lifting rockets, it's going to need to be very stable. In the end, I end up putting it on the truck thing for more low down weight. I then end up having... So yeah, as you can see, I don't really know what I was doing there, but I managed to launch the launch tower in the air, and now I have to try and put it on the rover to take it to the space center, so I can now get the parts necessary to attach a winch to it. As you can see, that proved not to be the easiest task, but I managed it. And I noticed it was weighing down the side a lot and threatening to tip the truck thing. So I used the rest of the trusses to weigh down the other side. So here we go with Kerbals. Now, getting Bill Kerman to stay on was a bit frustrating, so I tried to get him to ride it, but it didn't work. So I got Bill to follow Erald Kerman, and then I just took the truck thing and sent it towards the VAB. I have to drive slowly though, so that one, doesn't tip over, and two, so that Bill doesn't go too far away, because if he goes too far away, then he will leave the physics range, and then he will stop walking. So I have to go relatively slowly. I then speed up so I can go to the launch pad, where I pick up the winch for it, which is sitting on a truss. So there's the winch, a couple of batteries, and a couple of things to allow you to attach the winch. Connectors. And you can see Bill Kerman is still following. And there we go. Then I detach things because I felt it was sticking out too far out the side and it was going to tip over the rover too easily. So I made sure to try and center it better. So here I am rebuilding it a bit so I can center things a bit better. There we go. And then I attach some trusses to the front, sort of going down very close to the bottom of the wheels to hopefully help stabilize it a bit when I'm lifting things up. So, and then I attach another truss there as a step. Then I get the winch and bring it to the top, and I realise I've got nothing to put the winch on. So I take up a truss and attach it to a truss sticking out the front. Anyway, if you didn't enjoy the video, remember to dislike and unsubscribe, and maybe you won't watch the next video.